So NeNe Leakes, she's, out here, definitely most of you who watch that show know she's on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I've seen her many times. My wife, watches that show as well. And, she's been speaking up, ever since they had this show on the Bravo network called the Vanderpump Rules. Now, they had some cast members on that show that was fired because they was caught being racist. And, a lot of these shows are starting to let people go for that. They're going through tweets recently. The actor Hartley Sawyer, and he got fired off of The Flash because, they found some tweets on his page. He played Elongated Man, if you watch the Flash TV show. So they're not playing around. They're cutting people left and right. So, NeNe Leakes was, speaking up about Andy Cohen. Now, Andy Cohen is that dude, he's part of the Alphabets that hosts, a lot of the reunion shows and things like that. But when people was talking about firing, so NeNe was calling for his firing. She felt that he should be fired because everybody else is getting fired, right? And she said that, well, all righty then. She said, now we have a few more questions to ask about the areas where there's a major difference. Should we talk privately or publicly? So she says that all these companies on Twitter are coming out with large contributions toward social justice. Clearly, there are lots of executives sitting in these offices with no heart and no feelings. She said, you sit there knowing that a black person has been treated equal. I just want you to know you're a piece of ish, okay? And rightfully so, because, some of these people are coming out to cover their butt because they don't want to lose money right now, because if they get identified as one of those companies or TV networks or whatever that is discriminatory, people are canceling them. Cancel culture is real right now. So that Andy Cohen has been real quiet. So he finally said something on his, podcast. So he was saying that there's so much happening in the Bravo universe. I will say there's so much talk about Vanderpump Rules. And then, of course, the reunion ending up airing last week. He says that I will say this about what happened. I absolutely support Bravo's decision. I think it's the right decision. He's saying, I want to remind people because I've been getting so many tweets. He's saying messages about whatever happened about the Vanderpump Rules and about Southern Charm and other shows that I feel like I remind people of this all the time. I'm not in charge of programming at Bravo anymore. He said, I'm not an executive producer of Vanderpump Rules. He said, I don't have anything to do with the show except I love it. And that I host the reunions. He said, I don't produce the show. So what I want people to know is I have no say in the hiring or firing. Okay. But that wasn't good enough at all. It wasn't good enough because you were in the past. You know what was going on, Andy Cohen. And see, people like that in these, Hollywood and TV, it's a lot of racism going on. And we know this. And we talk about the black celebrity, a lot of times they putting up with this stuff because, hey, it's how they get their bread. We may not agree with some of them and how they do things. I wouldn't stay quiet on some things. Some people like, well, I got to go along to get along. And some people work jobs every day. They go along to get along just so they can keep their job and because they got bills, right? So this is what happens to them sometimes. And now that pressure is being put on, that's what I tell people, keep the pressure going, keep the protesting going because they feeling that pressure in every industry in America. And I told you, like I said on the news channel, if you can keep up at least 60 constant days of pressure on them, they can't take it no more than 60 days. I found that out with coronavirus, right? They lose their mind after 60 days. They were going crazy. And now you got all these cases spiking up all over the place because them idiots ran out on Memorial Day and didn't even care about, being around these people. That's why I didn't go out like that and do anything like that. But that's, a different video for a different time. But what I'm saying about this is he need to be fired. Don't like, hey, I had nothing to do with programming. I'm not part of that no more. I just hosted reunions. No. You were doing it and you walked away from it and you was a part of it. So you should be fired too. I agree with her. All these people that's, in the music industry, TV, radio, wherever they at, get rid of them all. If you have any kind of racism, get rid of them all. That's what I say. They coming out saying, well, we can't say nothing anymore. No, you can't. Because black people can't say nothing anyway. So it's time for you to deal with the same things we had to deal with for hundreds of years. Forget that. Everybody tired of your racism. So fire him. I agree with NeNe on this one. Now, of course, he went to Candy about it. and had a conversation with her, and she kind of took issue with that. But, you know, hey, no, he tried to save himself. You know, he's trying to get an ally with Candy to save him from getting into that heat. He should walk away and let someone host that show. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the situation, you know, at Bravo, because like I said, they have a racism going on over there, and NeNe is calling it out, and rightfully so. Now, I know she got into some controversy recently about comparing her situation with George Floyd. That was very silly for NeNe to do, and she has definitely been told about herself doing something like that. But, you know, let me know what you think about, you know, this racism going on at these networks, because like I said, racism is permeated through every entity in America.